This case study, conducted by Brianna, myself, Richard, and Tessa, will cover the Limpopo River Basin and the extent to which the 2003 agreement on the establishment of the Limpopo Watercourse Commission fulfills Elinor Ostrom's 8 design principles for effective self-governance of a commons. Located in southern Africa, the Limpopo River Basin covers 4 riparian countries: Botswana, Mozambique, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. The basin's primary users are major cities for irrigation, agriculture, and biodiversity hotspots. The primary stresses on the sustainability within the Limpopo River Basin is the equitable allocation of water resources between the 4 nations and the growing scarcity as a result of climate change, which exacerbated droughts and flooding.
The Limpopo River Basin is governed regionally by the Southern African Development Community, specifically the 1995 SADC Protocol on Shared Watercourses. On a basin-specific level, it is governed by River Basin Organization. Under this, LIMCOM is an agreement between the 4 countries that share it, with the objective being to advise the parties and provide recommendations on the uses of Limpopo. Under the SADC, the substantive provisions include member states agreeing to advance the sustainable, equitable, and reasonable utilization of the shared watercourses. Disputes are settled by the tribunal, and sanctions may be imposed against any member state, including potential suspension of right to speak and receive documentation at meetings. As for LIMCOM, the Council serves as the advisor to parties on matters relating to the development, utilization, and conservation of the water resources. The Council settles disputes and may appoint technical experts and consultants to provide expert opinion and advice.
The LIMCOM Council is made up of 3 delegates from each of the 4 countries, and the Council meets twice a year to resolve any disputes. There have not been any defined rules or regulations that establish water allocation rules between the 4 countries, and the majority of resources are being consumed by South Africa and Zimbabwe. As this is a very water-vulnerable region, establishing these boundaries is very challenging, as water and politics are deeply interconnected. There is currently no institution that has been established to tackle the 3 main threats to the Limpopo River Basin, which have been established as water scarcity, declining ecosystems, and climate change variability. As each of these 4 countries has their own policies for water usage and allocation, it has proved difficult to find harmony between all of their national policies and establish equitable water usage systems.
When evaluating the agreement against Ostrom's 8 design principles, we see several critical flaws, such as the distribution of water, no mention of monitoring, and no mention of sanctions. One thing that is good is that the LIMCOM agreement is nested within the SADC. And at the national level, there are water management regimes. The only problem is putting these together to manage the Limpopo River Basin collectively. When looking at the legal effectiveness of the LIMCOM agreement, it's a bit questionable, since the member governments have not consistently supported or participated in its proceedings, and the Secretariat lacks staff. But LIMCOM is seen as an embryonic institution with room to improve, and the riparian states have been complying by agreement terms. If we look at the behavioral effectiveness, 1986 saw the establishment of the LBPTC, which was signed under a climate of good political will and peace building that later transitioned to the LIMCOM. Without the agreement, there would probably be unequal distribution of water resources because of wealth inequality and differing water needs of the countries, specifically South Africa and Botswana. In terms of the problem-solving effectiveness, the Resilience Project in 2015 indicated that the Limpopo River Basin is still at high risk and vulnerable to climate change. Better resource management frameworks are needed, and data collection and sharing between the 4 countries is required in order for sustainable management of the water resource. In conclusion, in its current state, the LIMCOM agreement is weak and lacks a structure to effectively manage the water resources between the 4 countries. There are ongoing initiatives to strengthen LIMCOM and other RBOs from the SADC and other partner organizations. With adequate support, LIMCOM can be a very powerful tool in the sustainable management of this critical river basin.